Hey everybody, welcome to the School of Social Value. I am your host, your teacher, your professor for the day, Alan, and today we are talking about giving credit where credit is due when you have had an opportunity in business that results in producing profits, or if it's a failed opportunity. This is such a huge subject matter to tackle, and I am so glad that you're watching because today, together, we're going to get to the bottom of how we do this. And let me just lay out a few things. The first is such a unique instance here with this hand sanitizer opportunity. When it comes to the real reason I got into this, it wasn't because I wanted to sell a gallon at a time directly to consumer. I've been dealing with a restaurant closure and with all sorts of other high-level, CEO-level things that I don't want to have to be distracted by something that's on the small side. I was looking for big opportunities. And that was the email I got a few weeks ago when someone said, hey, I need to fill a 2 million bottle order of hand sanitizer. Guess what? I started crunching the numbers and I say, this can make FruitCraft a good amount of money. And if it does, we can continue to grow and be successful even in the midst of the COVID-19 stuff. And so, with that in mind, I leveraged all of the knowledge I have, not only as the founder, but as a manufacturer of all the alcohols that we make and the science that I know, and I leveraged that to understand where the opportunity was. The spirits that we're allowed to receive, I know that we're allowed to receive them because as a winery, we do it all the time when it comes to fortifying wines. A winery is allowed to receive grape-based spirits in order to take a wine that would be at, say, 14% alcohol, add spirits to it, make a port, and have it be 24% alcohol. And for that reason, wineries are approved locations that can receive high ethanol spirits. And knowing that I legally had that permission there, and that I had a supply chain that no one really had access to, I decided to leverage my knowledge of how the industry works and the science of how to make this product to make this opportunity. And the reason why that's important is if you take me out of this equation, that opportunity would never manifest. We'd get an email and someone without the knowledge of the science and the supply chain would just go, all right, let's ignore that email and let's move on to something else for the business. But I want to use this as an example because I want anyone who's hired within FruitCraft or anyone who is in the community at all to be able to see an opportunity come our way and for us to say, I have the knowledge, I have the experience, and I can help make this successful. But then let's talk about how we give credit to those who made it successful. So let's just talk about the value creators in this process. One, you had supply chain procurement, you had manufacturing recipes, you had all sorts of foundational laying, and then you had B, you've got people who are actually going to be mixing and manufacturing that. Full disclosure, that'll be me to lead, but I'm not going to be doing that in perpetuity. And then lastly, you've got sales functionality. If someone's going to come to FruitCraft to pick up a gallon of hand sanitizer, they're going to be doing curbside pickup. We're going to need someone to deliver that to their car and to kind of transact that order. And that's not going to be me, at least not in perpetuity either. And so when you look at all the hands touching and making this successful, the question that we all have to address is how when you take a hand sanitizer project that, say, made $100,000 in profits, how do you attribute who in that entire life cycle of business development deserves the credit for it? And I think if you can't tell, I think I deserve all the credit. Total joke. But the truth of the matter is, anyone who has this type of entrepreneurial experience, who can think in these ways, who has the relationships, they should be able to leverage those things to produce value for the organization, because it took me years and years and years to build my mental acuity, to understand how to weigh opportunities and to weigh risks, and to establish relationships with people in the industry. So those are all things that outsizedly can make this super successful. Now, the people who are filling the order, manufacturing, or filling the order on the sales, without the proactive energy that maybe like a salesperson does with like phone calls or emails and they should get a commission on that. These are what I would call entry-level, non-skilled contributions to the effort. And as valuable as those contributions are, we have to, as a company and as a meritocracy, look at the type of unique value that gets created with skilled labor. In my case, we're talking about the founder level skills that do result in growth. For that same reason, look, I don't want to see CEOs of public companies with $50 million a year in pay, but there's a reason why the marketplace has done that for those CEOs. And it's because without that CEO leading the way that they do, the company isn't going to grow. It's just not going to happen. And so they've put so much value and incentivized these leaders so much that they have put $50 million in their bank for an annual bonus, right? The truth of the matter is that that is definitely wrong. That there's no way that this one person is worth hundreds of times more than any individual person. But is the person worth 10 times more, 100 times more? This kind of is a bit of a conversation about salary caps within an organization. I do believe that there needs to be some fairness brought into that equation. But I do not believe that, you know, the warehouse hand shipping out a pallet of something is as valuable as the CEO. And so we need to accommodate for that. And I want to accommodate that mostly at the end of the year with that 10% profit sharing bonus. I want to have such an objective process that every single employee in the company can look at how we accredited the value of our profits that year, and they wouldn't be able to make an argument against, no, Alan shouldn't get that bonus because I deserve that bonus. And then the question would be like, why? And the answer to that would have to be kind of put to a jury in many senses. I believe that that transparency and that accountability that comes from that is essentially the path forward here. And so what I would like to see is I would like to see giving credit to the people who are driving company growth. They're proactively looking for opportunities. They're proactively managing people. They're proactively taking a project from start to finish, to revenue, to profits, to growth. And it's these people who are going to be promoted, who are going to be given more decision making. And if we happen to have a decision maker who was wrong, who said this hand sanitizer project is going to make us money, and it ends up losing us money, that person should also be on the line to lose their credibility, to lose their influence over the budgets and the decision making of the company. That is the entire purpose of this 5-video series. It's ultimately to get us to this one point, which is to say, we want an automated system where anyone in our community can take an idea, get the resources they need from FruitCraft to execute that idea, and for it to result in profits for us. And we want to have a data-based system that allows us to look at one person and say, they've been right 10 times out of 10, we're going to give them this $1 million budget to do a ton of hand sanitizer, and that's great. And if this becomes that much more successful, they're going to get even more credence and even more credibility when it comes to the next ideas and the next projects. As I mentioned, the same would be true if it ended up being a failure. You would lose credit. You would lose the ability to weigh in on that. That is the goal. It is literally about systems engineering so that I am not part of this equation, so that if I die tomorrow, somehow we've come up with a system where anyone can come up with a good idea, anybody can receive an email looking at an opportunity and say, you know what, with what I know about FruitCraft, with their supply chain, with their costs, with all this kind of stuff, I think this would be something that could make the company money. And more than just saying it's a great idea, I'm going to do my part to drive that idea into validation, into execution, and into profits. That's it. And so I hope you enjoyed the 5-video series we just did. The idea is to remove me from the equation. We want to create a system where anyone in our community can validate an idea, can bring it to our attention, and can help us execute it and take it to completion. And when all is said and done, we want to pay out people and give credit where credit is due for those who have gone above and beyond to make the company successful. So, I will leave this video at that. I look forward to the next series and education points. And until then, remember to do good and to share with others. Cheers.